1997, Crash Bandicoot 3 was released. Commercials, magazines, and toys. The orange marsupial was everywhere, and Crash was synonymous with the PlayStation. Like Crash was one of the unofficial mascots for the PlayStation along with Spyro, and now they're both owned by Microsoft. Well, besides the second Crash game, I remember 3 just as much, if not a little more, because I think the second game was either sold or went missing, and I just held on to the third game longer, because this was technically the last attempt with Crash for Naughty Dog. Kart Racer. After CTR, Crash would get passed around like the town's bicycle, going from developer to developer until he was finally owned by Activision and given the remaster treatment. And a Crash 4, we were ignore Crash's ugly past like it never happened. But I remember. What are we talking about? Oh, right. Anyways, you know the drill. PlayStation, remaster, story not like it matters. Let's get twisted with Crash Bandicoot Warped. The game picks up right after the last one, assuming that you got all the gems in the last game, with Cortex Vortex crashing into the Wampa Islands, freeing Aku Aku's evil twin brother, Uka Uka, which apparently Cortex has been listening to the real mastermind the entire time, Uka Uka, to take over the world since the beginning, and yells at Cortex for losing the gems and crystals. But Cortex is forgiven for that since Uka Uka is freed. But because Cortex can't be trusted to not mess things up for losing to that infernal Bandicoot, and we are introduced to Entropy and his twisted time machine. They plan to go back in time and grab the gems before Crash ever got them. Oh no! Time travel mechanics! Quick, someone tell the spiky teenager with the key not to go chasing his dreams, or that mouse will leave another girl on an island again! Actually, it's okay. The time travel thing isn't a big deal for this game. It's just a reason for the game to have variety of levels to go, as well as a new collectible MacGuffin, but we'll burn that bridge when we cross it. So Aku Aku, since that Uka Uka is freed, and informed the Bandicoot siblings what the villains are up to, and transports them to the Time Twister in hopes that they can collect all the MacGuffins across time and space to stop them. Along the way, the bad guys taunt Crash and Coco that they better stop collecting them or it would mean they were dead, which they end up defeating the bosses, protect their treasures, and take down Cortex in a final showdown, which is kinda cool. Crash facing off against Cortex and Aku Aku versus Uka Uka, but after defeating them, Uka Uka says that they still have some of the MacGuffins, so they just bounce. But if you manage to collect all of the gems, crystals, and time relics, then the machine starts to break down and the villains are warped to somewhere in time, with Cortex and Entropy as babies fighting and pulling on Uka Uka for who knows how long. Ending Crash Bandicoot Warped. Yeah, simple plot, nothing too much to worry about. Crash and Coco go through multiple of time periods, from dino riding in the Jurassic era, jet skiing through the open seas when pirates ruled, pissing off Laura by raiding tombs in ancient Egypt, blowing up blimps in World War I, not playing children's card games on motorcycles through the 1950s, and riding a tiger over the Great Wall of China. The game has a variety of location and gimmicks that dwarfs the last game. And yes, while Coco was made playable in the other games thanks to the remake, her first playable debut was actually this game. Although she was relegated to just a few stages into those exclusive to her stage still ring true, and Crash will actually belly flop if you try to go into one of her stages as Crash. However, now she is fully playable with all the mechanics Crash had from his previous outings. But I realize she only has the angel death animation while Crash dies in a lot of different ways in this game, and it's really something compared to the last one. Like I said, Crash plays like before. Run, jump, spin, slide, belly flop your way through time to break boxes, collect crystals and gems to make it to the end of the game. However, after beating an area, Crash fights a boss and gets a power-up to make the adventure a little more hectic. Crash gets an upgrade to his belly flop that allows him to break boxes from a safe distance, causing a shockwave. Which, while mostly useless, it's not a bad first power-up, because it doesn't take away any challenge, yet allows for the next set of areas to still be used with the movesets we have so far. Crash gets the double jump, which, I mean, you jump twice, something it's required, sometimes it makes the platforming trivial. The Death Tornado Spin, which I like as a quote-unquote glide mechanic, because as you mash the square button, you spin rapidly and you can hold your place in air for a short time, stopping you from dropping, but because it's also an attack, you can use it to take out enemies as you float over them, but do go too crazy with it because it'll immediately trigger TNT and nitro crates. Nice little risk-reward system. Then you get the Fruit Bazooka. I mean, some people hate this thing, but I mean, I love it. If I don't feel like dealing with an enemy, you can just blast them and then you don't have to worry about them, as well as being able to break boxes from afar, and is needed in some instances. The final power-up is Crash Dash, which is just a runabout, and while Crash is by no means slow, it's kinda nice to have it get back to an area that you died to quicker, but that's not why they did that. No. They said it's as the final power-up for these time relics. Alright, you get the crystal on the stage. Simple enough, you get the gems by either breaking all the boxes, or the color or extra clear gems by getting through a certain area without dying, or whatever requirement is needed. It can even be in an extra area. But you'll notice that even if you do that for all these other stages, there are certain gems locked behind these time relics. What do I mean by that? Well, introduced in this game was the time relic, time attack modes that you have to finish the game in a certain amount of time. They added them to the other games, but they were built in mind for this game. You guys know me, I don't care to complete a stage as quickly as possible. Never been much for speedrunning. Funny I know, being a Sonic fan, but this game makes playing them a requirement to beat the game to get the true ending. 20 of them are required to just get 5 extra levels, which will allow you to get the other missing gems in other levels. However, you need to get all the crystals, gems, and relics in order to beat the game. Fine, no big deal. The sapphire relics are harmless enough, the gold relics are only needed as a mean to get one last gem, but it's more of a congrats for doing it, bragging rights, you know? But the platinum relic are the fastest possible times ever for the stage, and don't change anything in the game. That being said, no, I am not getting all the platinum relics in this game. It's just not worth it. I will say that this game making you speedrun it to get to the true ending is interesting, though it makes some of the levels play very differently when it goes from just run from point to point to find ways to avoid as much as you can. The game also introduced to a bunch of vehicle segments in a way. You can fly in a plane and shoot down blimps, which I found that if you feel like you're getting shot down a lot, if you just tilt the camera away from the enemy planes on screen, it acts like they don't exist and will stop firing until they are physically on screen. I found it funny to just move my screen from left to right, making the camera delete them just so I could take care of the enemies without any hassle. The tiger riding mechanics replaces the hog and polar bear riding of the first two games, and have Coco riding on the Great Wall of China as she breaks boxes. And the motorcycle riding feels a bit stiff, and I cannot imagine trying to get the box gem in first place in the same run with the steering in this game. CTR, this is not. There are some underwater segments where you get this like squid fish blaster thing that gives you an extra hit, as well as the ability to blow up enemy obstacles and decor that hides boxes. It's a nice little detour from the hallway platforming. I will say one of the nice things about the final stage before fighting Cortex was getting one of the final gems is by having all the other colored gems to get to, and has you using most of the power-ups to progress through. The game also got one extra level just like the first one, and it's a gauntlet of a stage, but it's nice for free DLC, but luckily not required to beat the game. Music this time, I think I recognized more from here than the first two, just a lot more bops in these stages than in the previous entries. The boss fights were easier I think in this, but they were all around the same level of difficulty, so it's not stupid easy like the boss fight with Cortex at the end of 2. With all that said, I would recommend this game as well as the entire collection. I think of the 3, Warped is probably my favorite, at least from start to finish as a complete package. But with that, we're all done with the PS1 era of platformers I wanted to visit, and then we will be jumping to the console I spent more time with than any of them, the PlayStation 2. And I think no better ones to talk about than the 3 of the major platformers on this console. But with that, we'll have to wait till next time. And hey, you made it to the end, so maybe you liked the video? Or if not, tell me in the comment section below, and go ahead and make sure you tap that subscribe button and smack that bell to know when the next video is out. Make sure to check me out on the Bluebird, the Purple Box, and NostalgiaCam if you want to see more of my art, as well as whatever updates and gameplay I'll be giving in between reviews. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again real soon.